Okay, well, it is 9 o'clock, and I think we're going to go ahead and begin to stay on top of our schedule. So again, today's seminar or webinar is Ensuring Program Quality, Understanding 21st Century Community Learning Centers Monitoring. That's being presented by the Allegheny Intermediate Unit. We have just a few housekeeping notes to keep us all together today. We've all been muted upon entry, or at least we're muted now. And so for the session, we'd ask that you ask your questions in the chat. AIU3 will take time every now and then as they see how important the question is to the context to either interrupt or answer them at a certain period during our presentation. So my name is Park Brown. I'm a Youth Development Coordinator who many of you know from the Center for Schools and Communities. Also in the room today, we have some of the PDE program officers. I noticed Carissa already and Tracy already said hi. And Tanya will introduce us in just a minute. We do want you to know that because this is a general 21st century informational webinar, it's not eligible for Act 48 credit. We will be putting an evaluation in the link in the end of the session just so that you can give us feedback on quality and improve ourselves as we move along. Do be reminded, I think you all saw it on the screen, but this session is being recorded so that it will be available on the 21st Century website several days after the event. And I'll answer the one question automatically right away. Yes, the PowerPoint will be provided to you after the fact. But sometimes it's best not to have it in front of us because then we all race ahead to see what else is there and don't pay attention to what is being presented. So I'd like to now introduce today's presenters from Allegheny Intermediate 3, Sheila Bell, the Program Director, Fallon Weedman, Senior Program Evaluator, and Jesse Thornton, the Evaluation Specialist. But before they begin the session, we're going to hear some comments from Watanya Nye from the Pennsylvania Department of Education. Watanya?
Good morning. I hope you guys are off. Your day is off to a great start and that you're having a wonderful morning. It's a little chilly out there, but it's all good. It's winter time, right? I hope that you get a lot out of this training. Pay attention and make sure you take good notes. And again, the PowerPoint will be available for you and ask your Centers for Schools and the AIU for any additional support that you need. All right, Sheila, you can take it away.
Thank you, Watanya. Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're excited to talk to you about 21st century monitoring. We've had some changes this year. We've done some upgrades to the tool, and I'm going to turn it over to Fallon, who's going to kick us off. So with our agenda.
Great. Hello, everyone. For those of you who have been subgrantees before, welcome back. It's time for monitoring. I know we're very excited. So this is and then those of you who are new, this is a very exciting roller coaster like those in Kennywood, if you've been to Pittsburgh. But here is our agenda. Well, we already went over our welcome and introductions, and then we're going to talk to you a little bit about why we monitor subgrantees and go over sort of the standards that we expect of the monitors that we contract with. We'll go over some logistics, the tool and the visit, post-monitoring and follow-up, and then we have some time for Q&A at the end. Go ahead to the next. All right, so there are three main entities who work with 21st Century and with the monitoring, PDE, the Center, and the AIU. I'm going to go ahead and let PDE and the Center jump in and just sort of explain their role in this process.
So this is Watanya again. So PDE, we monitor the final monitoring reports. We review them. We advise on the caps if applicable. We're the ones that take that final look at the monitoring report before it goes out to the subgrantee.
And this is Park from the Center for Schools and Communities. Most of you are aware there are 3 TA providers, Beth Hoffer, Catherine Kuhn, and myself. And our role is to contact you when you're on the schedule, but your date is not firmly established, and we never give you a date. But we give you a wink and a nod and say, hey, I think we need to really aggressively talk about monitoring, and we come out to visit you. Once in a while, because of either weather in the winter or the proximity of the visit, we have a Zoom session first. But we try to get there to be with you and go through it. Now, the beauty of today is you're going to hear things fresh from AIU 3, and that means that if one of the 3 of us visits in the next 2 months, you will have it fresh in your minds. Most important is when the grantees will be monitored next fall, for instance, and it's been quite some time, or there's a new program director since this webinar took place and they haven't looked at it yet, then we play a much more functional role in the instructional piece. But we come out, we go over the process, the tool, kind of guide you in that, give you some examples of how you might document something, and we're just there to answer your questions as you move toward that process. We also work very aggressively to get with you at a site and walk through the site as if we were the monitor. And that way you can kind of hear and see what we point to, what we direct you to improve, label better, things like that. But it's our role to coach you through the process once you know what to do. And that's what we accomplish.
Thank you, Park and Watanya. That's always very helpful to understand what everybody's role is. And then us three at the AIU, we sort of just coordinate the monitoring process and develop the tools and materials. We also contract with the external monitors who will actually conduct the visit. So none of us do the visits ourselves. We have external people who do that for us. And then we always, review and submit the final reports and caps to PDE to share with you. Next slide. Okay, so before we, get into everything, I just wanted to talk a little bit about why we monitor grantees. So the main objective is just to enhance the quality of your program by making sure that you comply with the federal and state requirements of your grant. Monitoring also allows your program officers and your technical assistants to better understand your program so that they can offer more individualized technical support as needed. So monitoring isn't intended to be a sort of audit. It's not intended to be like a punitive measure or anything like that. It's really about, ensuring continuous quality of your grant. Making sure that we give the best programs that we can for the kids. So it's supposed to be a fun, not a fun process. I don't want to say it's fun, but it's intended to find and fix issues, but it's also an opportunity for you to highlight what your strengths and what you're doing really well. Next one. And I think I'm going to turn it over to Jesse or Sheila.
Yeah, me. We apologize. There's a blue line on our slides. We don't know why or how it got there. So we will clean that up before it goes out. Now it is gone. So I don't know. But thanks. So I want to talk for just a moment about the monitoring standards of professional practice. When we hire our monitors, we train them, and we just want to be transparent and make sure that you understand as well where they're coming from. So when they come out to you, we are training them on the principles of collaboration. As Fallon said, this is about quality improvement and making the programs the best they can be for the communities, the families, and the kids. So we want them to be transparent. We want them to be very supportive and objective and strengths-based. While we're still assuring that accountability, we still want to make sure we have these other values as part of what they are doing. And these are also located in our monitoring guide that you will get. But you can see like some of the things we talk to them about is when they represent PDE and the AIU, and they have to be professional when they come out to see you. We want them to maintain confidentiality. They all sign confidentiality agreements, so you don't have to worry about that. All the things that they see or talk about will not leave the room. We want them to be mindful of your time, so making sure that we are being efficient as possible and not wasting the time of the grantee, because we know how busy you all are. And then giving good feedback, and when there's a question that if they can't answer it, they come and ask us or PDE or the center. We figure that out. If you have a question that they can't answer, or they have the sources where they can provide a good answer. Our second standard is competence. So we make sure that they're all familiar with the 21C activities and functions. They know the regs, the statutes. We have an extensive guide this year with a rubric for scoring to make this more objective, and that incorporates some of the statutory regulatory guidance and what's in the RFP that you responded to. So we think that will also help them. They've been trained on the tool already, on the process, so that they're consistent. And our third one, just good skills with interpersonal communication, collaboration, very professional, good listeners. So if you have any challenges with the monitor, please let us know. We don't anticipate that. We're hopeful that that will not happen. We've never had that, but we want to make sure that if there is an issue, you feel comfortable reaching out to Fallon, myself, or Jesse to let us know so we can address it. But this is how they are trained. Uh, we also want to make one quick note about terminology. In the past, our materials, we've often talked about all of you as grantees, but technically, you are sub-grantees. The state gets the federal award, so they are the main grantee from the federal government. So the term sub-grantee is being used in our documents. It's just something that's been emphasized by the federal government in some of the calls with 21 APR and things. So we're carrying that forward. And just wanted to make you aware. So when you see that in the materials, that's you, the sub-grantee. So let me turn it back over to Fallon, who's going to talk about scheduling.
All righty. So, many of you will probably be wondering how you schedule your visit, when it's going to be. You should have all received an email from me about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, before the break, letting those of you know who are on the schedule for this year that you are on the schedule. So essentially, we receive a list each year from PDE of which grantees, sub-grantees will be monitored. See, I'm already doing it, grantee, sub-grantee, which sub-grantees will be monitored. And then our monitors will give us their availability for each visit. So essentially, the monitor lets us know when they are available. And then we will notify you, the AIU, will notify you 4 to 6 weeks prior to your assigned week. So you get some notice, but monitoring isn't scheduled, months in advance because it's intended to sort of, get a snapshot of your program in real time. So, we kind of want to have a little bit of not it's too much notice there so we can kind of get that real-time feedback. Also, it just keeps the process fair so that every sub-grantee has the same amount of time to prepare. That said, you do have all the materials. You will have all the materials that you need to start preparing the tool, the itinerary guide, and things like that. So, everything we ask of you during monitoring in terms of documentation are things that your grant should already have in place. So hopefully it's not too big of a lift for you to prepare. Once you do receive the monitoring notice from me, then we ask that you confirm receipt within 2 business days. That just allows us, to know that you actually have read the notice and you know what's going on. Your visit will then be conducted over 2 half-day sessions, which are approximately 3 to 4 hours each, with at least one in the afternoon so your monitor can observe your program. So you will propose those 2 half-day sessions within 5 business days of receiving the notice, and your monitor will confirm their availability. So for example, if you receive an email from me that you're going to be monitored the week of January 19th, then you would look at your schedule and your staff's schedule and everyone who needs to be involved and say, okay, we're available Tuesday afternoon and Thursday morning for the visit. And then your monitor would confirm their availability. If they're not available, then you just kind of go back and forth and figure out what works best for you. And just let me know when the final decision is made so I can add it to our official calendar. Please note that you may not reschedule your monitoring visit. Like I said, this is to sort of ensure fairness around the process. Everybody gets the same amount of notice. That said, in select extenuating circumstances, PDE has rescheduled visits. If there's something comes up and you need to move it, please just email your program officer, Watanya. and me so that they can review your request and then let me know if it needs to be moved. So to prepare for the visit, like Park said, you are going to receive some additional support from your TA. We also, the TAs and the AIU will share some additional documentation with the monitors about your program. When you receive the notice from me, I will follow up with a unique Google folder link where you will upload all of your required documentation so that your monitor can access it prior to and during the visit. We also offload this documentation and keep record of it for PDE. There's a question in the chat. Yes, if you've not received the email from me, then you won't be receiving the visit in the 25-26 cycle. Nicole, I will double check the schedule and follow up with you in case it got sent to your spam or something. Yes, to clarify, by 25-26 monitoring, we mean the spring of 2026. So visits will take place as early as January 19th and won't go past, I believe, the week of May 18th, because your programs will be ending for the summer. So yeah, if you don't have access to Google Drive, that's fine. We've had grantees use OneDrive, SharePoint. Just let me know so that we can make accommodations as needed. So then you're going to prepare your documentation, schedule your interviews, and complete the itinerary guide. We'll go over all that in detail in a little bit. Please note that you must upload your itinerary guide at least 5 business days prior to the start of monitoring. This is a compliance item with the new tool, so if you do not upload your guide on time, you won't receive credit for that item. You'll be non-compliant. So it's a pretty easy one to get compliance on. So we hope that you do that. To help you prepare, you can attend an optional pre-monitoring Q&A session with Jesse, Sheila, or myself. If you'd like to schedule that, just email me 1 week prior to your monitoring visit. And then after everything has been uploaded, the monitors will be given their document review. Next slide. Okay, I think I'm still going over this. Okay, sorry.
No.
All right. So those of you who have been subgrantees before, you may remember filling out a very complex tool in Excel to prepare for your visit, a self-assessment form. So new for 25-26, to make the process more streamlined, subgrantees will no longer be filling out the monitoring tool in themselves. Only your monitors are going to complete it. We've also removed a lot of questions. It's a lot shorter now. We've also added a scoring rubric so that the monitors have, specific guidelines about how to score each item. And you will notice on the tool, like we'll give you a copy of the tool so you know what's going on. You will notice on the tool that there is a point system now. So 2 points is, you're compliant. 1 point is you're kind of emerging, you're getting there, and 0 is that, you haven't met the requirement at all. I just want to say that the points are sort of arbitrary. That's just to allow us on the AIU's end a way to quantify the data. So it's not like a score as you would think of like a GPA or something like that. They're just, binary variables. So we've also, so we have the monitoring preparation guide that you'll receive, which outlines any best practices and kind of what we're looking for with each item, and the scoring rubric so you kind of know what's going on. You're going to upload specific documents prior to the visit. You're not going to upload documentation for all like 68 compliance items that we had before. I think there's, Sheila, is it 7 key documents? Just 7 key documents that you have to upload prior to your visit. The documentation and evidence for each interview question or compliance item is not uploaded. You can present things live during your interview if you think it supports your answer. but it's not required. We also have a new form to track staff and volunteer clearances and certifications. Some of you in the past may have uploaded a form from your HR department or whatever tracking system you use, just to keep things consistent and easier for PDE to keep track. We do have a form that you need to fill out now, and it basically you just, enter your staff's name, whether or not they have the clearance, and then your program director needs to sign it, and I think somebody else as well. But Sheila will go over that a little bit. And then, of course, the itinerary guide was updated to reflect all of this. Next one. Okay, Sheila.
Yeah, so the monitoring process. The monitoring process really hasn't changed, right? You will upload the documentation. Jesse's going to go over some of that in a few moments of what's required. And you'll upload your itinerary. So that's the schedule for the visit over the 2 half days. So you'll do that first, and then the monitors will review those pre-monitoring documents, and they'll be scoring that on the tool. And then the third step is the actual visit itself. They'll be conducting that again virtually. All visits will be virtual this year. And they will use the scoring rubric that we will be giving you. You'll see it in the guide. And then they submit their final report. So 4 main steps that happen. So just to reiterate this again, Fallon already went over this, but we just want to make sure that everyone's on the same page, that you don't complete the monitoring tool itself. We're not giving the Excel file to you. That's going to go to the monitors. But you'll have a copy of what that looks like so you can prepare. You will be scheduling interviews with the required participants as part of the monitoring sessions. And you'll be uploading that documentation. When you're doing staff clearances, like as Fallon said, we have a form now. You should not actually upload the individual student data or staff clearance data. We still do not want that identifiable information. We will be showing some of that on screen with the monitors at the visit, but you will not be uploading personal information. We don't want that to happen. And then we just want to make sure you understand, like, documentation that you provide should reflect your current status of operations. So, we will be looking for things that are up to date, making sure, your emergency readiness plan is up to date. It's not from 5 or 10 years ago or things like that. So, and we will go through these things as we go. There's a question. Can we get these forms for these clearances soon? Yes, yeah. Right after this meeting, we'll have a copy of that. I think that's fine. We can send everything out. Sure. I believe Jesse is going to talk about the pre-monitoring documents, so the things you upload before your visit.
Yeah, so these will be the things that Fallon mentioned will be uploaded in your Google Drive folder or whatever kind of Dropbox, SharePoint application you prefer to use. Fallon also mentioned earlier that these will be the 7 documents that you will need to have uploaded at least 5 business days prior to your visit. So these 7 things will be those that the monitors will review prior to your visit. So these will be your monitoring itinerary guide, your program and staff handbook, your parent handbook, your emergency readiness plan. If a subgrantee has multiple of these, so like if they have like one per site, for example, you will need to upload all of those, and then the monitor will just randomly select one to review. The 5th required document will be your staff and volunteer clearance and certifications form. Your 6th will be the documentation of any program partnerships with LEAs, community-based orgs, or any other private or public entity. And then your 7th will be your transportation safety plan. So as Fallon mentioned earlier, we have a new point system. So each of these will be worth a maximum of 2 points each. So the entire of this step will be worth 14 points in total. And I will go over those compliance ratings now. Thank you. So these are the different ratings for each of the items. And in the monitoring tool, each item should have specific examples of what each of these will look like. So you kind of have some guidance as you're being monitored. So ideally, you want to be getting established ratings. So these are 2 points. So these are documents that include all or nearly all of best practices and standards that are set forth by these regulations. This just indicates that you have strong practices related to this item. Then you have 1 point, which is just emerging. So this is when you have some, but not all of these standards. So this is kind of like when you're in the process of developing all these practices or standards in place. And these will have a written note by the monitor to document their concerns. And then the final one, which will be 0 points, is not yet in place. So these are when these are items that you need to develop these practices or protocols that are related to it. Monitors will also need to add a note to the monitoring tool regarding these points. Next slide, please. Thank you. So now we move into step 3 of the monitoring process, which is the virtual monitoring visit. So during the actual virtual visit, there are 4 main components. So first, it is a review of the documents and any additional information that the subgrantee wishes to share during the visit. Second is going to be the monitoring interviews. So this is where they will speak directly with program leadership and key staff. Third will be the stakeholder interviews. So this will include hearing from program staff, students, caregivers, school administrators, and different community partners. And then finally, the monitors will complete an actual virtual program observation where they'll observe a student activity in action during the visit. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is part 1 of the virtual monitoring visit. So this is going to focus on the document review, which will be worth 10 points in total, a maximum of 2 points per question. So this portion just kind of builds on the documents that you all will upload prior to your visit. So it starts with reviewing a sample of the staff and volunteer clearances. So monitors will randomly select 3 individuals from the staff and volunteer clearance and certification form and confirm that all required clearances are present and up to date. Next, they're going to check for proper use of the 21st Century logo and the PDE funding statement. So subgrantees will need to provide at least 3 samples, 2 of which are internal and 1 external, to show that the branding and funding acknowledgement requirements are being followed. An example of an external one can be like a school flyer, for example, or some sort of promotional event that is related to 21st Century. You will also verify proof of staff and student emergency contact information. So the subgrantees, you will need to provide samples and show where this information is stored so that can be accessed during some kind of emergency. Next, the monitors will review the release of student records consent form to ensure there is a valid template in place for obtaining different lawful permissions to share the student level data. And then finally, you will need data sharing agreements with both the local evaluator and all the LEAs or feeder schools. So these agreements must be current, signed, and clearly list the specific data elements being shared and the purpose for each element. For subgrantees that are school districts, you are not required to have a data sharing agreement with your own school district, but just please ensure that you still have an agreement with your local evaluator in place. Okay, slide. Thank you. And I'm going to turn it over to Fallon, I believe.
All right. Thank you, Jesse. So the second part of the virtual visit is the subgrantee monitoring interviews. So essentially, these are for those of you who have, been monitored before. This will be kind of the bulk of the visit and replace what used to be the comprehensive review of that big Excel tool I had mentioned. So essentially, your monitors will ask you a series of about, I think about like 4 to 7 questions on each of these topics. So target population and attendance, program staffing, program facilities and procedures, activities, evaluation and reporting, and collaboration and communication with your feeder schools and stakeholders. They'll also ask 2 additional unscored questions to help inform technical assistance, and will complete an unscored program observation. So you may be wondering who actually needs to attend each of these interviews. For each of the sections, at minimum, the program director must be there. For each section, for most of the sections, the site coordinator and director should also be in attendance. For section number 3, program facilities and procedures, if you provide transportation to students, you should have your transportation staff there. It doesn't need to be all of them, just, kind of whoever is coordinating your transportation. And for the evaluation reporting section, you should ask your local evaluator to be there. I will say that I know with the local evaluators, sometimes their schedules are a little bit hectic and they don't align with yours. If your monitoring comes around and your evaluator just is not available at all during your assigned week, in the past, we have allowed subgrantees to schedule the interview with their evaluator at a different date that works with their schedule. It's only happened once or twice, but if that does happen, your monitor or your evaluator is on vacation in the Caribbean or something, and they can't be contacted, then we will work with you to figure that out. You may also invite any program staff that you wish to be there as an optional attendee. Next slide. There's a question. For transportation staff, is that for subgrantees providing transportation via a contractor? I'll let Watanya jump in, but yes, I do believe it should be for anyone providing transportation to students.
That is correct. It should be anyone providing transportation.
And then this is just the rubric for the subgrantee monitoring interviews. It's pretty much the same as the one that Jesse just reviewed. So, this is kind of the general rubric, established, answering the majority of response standards, emerging, meeting some of the standards, not yet in place, can't provide any sort of, adequate response, and not applicable is an automatic 2 points. So, for example, if you do not provide transportation, then you get an automatic 2 points on that section. I just want to reiterate, the points don't mean anything outside of the AIU's own data analysis. I don't want you to think of the points as like a 0 to 100 percentage score or something. It's just to help us analyze the data. So your monitors will score the answers based on the provided rubric for each item. So this is just the general rubric to give you an overview. Each item has its own specific detailed rubric that they should be following. And then just each interview section will include the program director and require other additional required attendees. Next slide. Okay, I think Jesse's going to go over this.
Yes, thank you, Fallon. So the third part of the virtual visit will focus on the stakeholder interviews, which just kind of helps us get a more broad, fuller picture of how your program operates in real life among the different parties that are involved. So we'll be meeting with, well, the monitors will be meeting with 5 different stakeholder groups during this time. So there'll be the 21st Century program staff, any program participants or students, any caregivers or guardians, school administrators, and then different community and outside partners. And each of these interviews will be rated using the rubric from the subgrantee interview that Fallon just mentioned briefly. Next slide, please. Thank you. So for the stakeholder interview portion, there are also going to be their own specific attendance requirements. So you'll be responsible for just coordinating the attendance for each of these interviews, much like the actual subgrantee interview. So this would include just individuals who can speak pretty knowledgeably about their experience in the program, and just ensuring that they're going to be available at their scheduled time. So the monitors will conduct these interviews. So program staff or leadership should not sit in on interviews with program staff or school administrators. However, staff members are allowed to attend student, caregiver, or partner interviews if it makes the interviewee more comfortable during the process. So, just to kind of go over briefly for the required attendees for each. So, for the 21st Century Program staff, it can just be one staff or like a small handful of staff in your program. For students, it's one student or a small group of students who attend grade 3 plus. We think around after age like 7 or 8. Their responses would actually kind of have deaf in their responses. For caregivers, it's just one caregiver or a small group of caregivers together. School administrators, it can again just be one or a leader of one of the buildings where students attend during the day. And then for any community or outside partners, it can be one partner that the subgrantee has some form of a letter of agreement with. But this partner cannot be the local evaluator, as that is part of your subgrantee interviews. And different examples can be staff from libraries or food banks or organizations that kind of come in to do specific activities for the students. Okay, I believe Sheila's going to go over the actual program observation.
Yeah. So the program observation isn't scored or anything, but it will be summarized in the final report by the monitor. So you will be scheduling one activity that they can virtually observe in your program during the visit. So basically, we've done this in the past. Nothing has really changed from the prior times that we've had monitoring, but we just wanted to note that it's not scored and it will be part of the summary. So now I'm going to kind of switch and do a little bit of a demo. Like we just want to show you some of the materials. This is the staff and volunteer clearance certifications form. So you can see you'll be getting this in like a Word or a Google Doc format to fill this out. So you have to think about for each staff and volunteer, they have to have their Act 33 child abuse history clearance, their Act 34 criminal record check, and FBI clearance, and mandated reporter training proof of completion. So these are all mandatory. You got to, if you would fill this out, you would put the name of the staff or volunteers here and check off if they're, their role, and then whether or not they have everything that is listed. CPR first aid is there. You'll notice there's an NA there because if you have a volunteer, for example, maybe the staff are required to have that. You have someone that is trained, they're always there. Your volunteer may not have that at the moment. So that's why the NA is there. And then you will certify it, you just meaning that you're just signing it that it is true to the best of your knowledge, everything that you are submitting. So that's the form. And if you need to add rows, you can. This is the monitoring preparation guide, which you will get. It has a lot of information in it. So bear with me for a minute, but we want to show you what the rubric looks like. So it goes over everything from that we're just talking about today, the purpose, the roles. It has our contact information for the IU, but also for the center and PDE. The different time frames, how to go about this step by step. It's all in here. And then it goes through each of the different items that you will be rated on, looking at each of the scoring questions, the documents that you're uploading, and so forth. And then in the appendix, we have a copy of the tool. We have a preparation checklist for you as you're getting ready. If you choose to use that, again, it's nothing you're turning in. It's just voluntary. We have a flow chart that shows the steps if you want to print that out and put it somewhere, if that helps. We tried to give you some different tools like that. The itinerary guide and so forth. The standards are in here as well. So roles, these are all things we just talked about, all the different steps. We know it's a lot of text and you know, you may not like to read, like we get a lot of people like, it's so much to look at. But if you kind of use that table of contents, it might help you navigate when you have a question. And we're here if you need us as well, so don't worry about that. But we do like try to point you back to the resources that you have um, that we've developed. So here's some information we just talked about with program monitoring. Um, Yes, we will be linking the tool after after the presentation. There's a question in chat. All the materials in the PowerPoint will be sent after the details. So this goes through, you know, what you're going to be required to provide. So there is a section of the tool the monitors will fill out. It will have the date, your name, the subgrantee's name, cohort, and different information of who's being interviewed. The AIU is going to fill out a section of the tool for the background. So we'll have the FC number, you know, your cycle, contract execution dates, and so forth. You can review that information. We'll make sure that you have that to see. We would like you to take a look if there's anything that we didn't have or was incorrect. We can correct that. But this is just some background information so that we have everything documented appropriately. For our document review, we already went over scoring, but here is the rubric, and I'll try to blow this up a little bit so you can see it. So, for example, the first thing, like Fallon said earlier, the monitoring itinerary guide is a pretty easy thing. Everyone has to have that. That is your schedule, and we'll take a look at that in a moment. But, you know, what's the standard? Well, you have to fill it out completely, and you have to submit it 5 days before the visit so everyone can prepare and your grantee, your interviewees are ready to be interviewed. So the rubric, a score of 2 would be, you know, it was completed and it was submitted on time, had everything that we needed. If it was late or you didn't have certain details in it, you were late scheduling, or that'll be a 1. And then if you just didn't, you know, submit it at all, that would be a 0. But you can see here's a program or staff handbook or links and documents. You can see that, you know, what's your current year, looking for that, background information, workplace policies, all the standard things that you would see in a handbook for your staff. And so this is just an example. I can't go through all of these. It's a lot of information. But as you're preparing for your visit and you know you're uploading these, take a look at your documents. You can compare them to these standards. You can update them if you need to. Just so you know, it's very transparent what everyone's looking for. So if the monitor can find these things and they will score it accordingly to that. Let me see if there's another question. For county, if the subgrantee has centers across several counties, will all counties be listed or the county where the subgrantee is physically located? Counties. I'm sorry, I'm not sure. Fallon, do you understand that one? I'm not sure I understand the.
Where are we listing the counties again?
I don't.
That was
I
on
don't,
y'all.
We're not. Yeah.
In the
That was on the
preparation.
previous page.
Can you go back to it, Sheila? Sorry, y'all. My coffee hasn't kicked in yet.
Previous page.
Keep going back. The part that is pre-filled in.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's gonna be the counties that
Oh.
they're serving. But you don't need to worry
Yeah.
about this because
No.
Jesse and I will autofill it based on our data set. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's just there for your general information. We'll fill this out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. No worries.
Yeah, basically that list is just whatever's in the dashboard.
Yeah. Yeah. We're just confirming that that's up to date. Let's see. another question. I know this isn't directly related, but since you brought up ELO, has there been any announcement about ELO registration?
I can jump in. The ELO
Thanks.
registration will be soon. We're on the cusp of submitting it, and I'll announce the dates at the end of the webinar.
Thanks, Park. Okay, so this kind of goes through. I will zoom back out a little bit to make this quicker so you can see the documents shared during monitoring. And here we have, when they're sharing during monitoring, they're going to randomly select 3 volunteers or staff from that clearance form that you're submitting, and they're going to ask you to show that information physically on the screen. So we're not, again, uploading any of that. We don't want to have that data that has their names on it and everything, but you're going to physically show that to the monitors, and then they will score accordingly. The same with showing logos. We have like branding examples and how that, like, you're going to show them some examples of that and so forth.
Sheila, we have another question in the chat if you don't
Oh,
mind me jumping in.
no, jump in, please.
Lakeisha asked, if we operate from a school, are we able to insert the information in our school handbook, or do we need a separate 21C handbook? Tanya, feel free to jump in here, but if you have a school handbook, I think you can use any of the relevant information to the 21st century program. That means like, visitation policy, security procedures, things like that. But you should also include in, the handbook that you give your 21st century staff, any specific information to the program that they need, whether that's like, how to conduct programming, the schedule, things like that. Does that answer your question? So there's no set handbook template. You can use information from your school or your school district, but, just fill in as needed any other information about the program your staff might need.
Yeah, that's correct, Alan. They should have a handbook that's specific to their 21st century program, but they can't pull things from the school district's handbook that are pertinent information.
Thank you. Good question. When we go into the interview, you can see again all the information's here that we just went over. And again, now this has the interview questions for each section, and it does the same thing. It gives you the best practice standard and the scoring example. So for example, the first question with target population and attendance looks at, does the program follow staffing recommendations? And it lists those that were provided in the RFP. So, you would talk about how you maintain your ratios or any challenges you might have. And there's some examples of how you might maintain ratios here. And then scoring examples, you're consistently meeting them daily. You track sign-in, schedules, you adjust. Emerging is you're aware, but, it might be inconsistent how you would adjust if there's an issue with like a bunch of people are off one day and you have kids, like how do you adjust? And then maybe you're not monitoring staffing ratios, for example, would be one that's not yet in place. So again, this is all in the spirit of continuous quality improvement. We want you to be honest. We want to figure out where we can help you, provide technical support. And that's what those caps are for, to really help pinpoint those areas that we might need to, provide additional one-on-one training or support, or provide some sessions across the board, like at an ELO. So that's how this is all set up. It goes through all the interviews, all the questions are here, so you'll be able to review those at your leisure. You'll have all of this, so you can look at all of it. And then the same thing with stakeholders, like program staff. How often does the program's team meet? What do those meetings look like? Are they meeting? Are you guys talking with staff and so forth? I'm going to keep going. So these are all the different stakeholder questions. And then we get into the total score tally. There's a tally. The monitors will summarize their key impressions. They'll highlight strengths, opportunities for growth, and they'll offer some recommendations. And that goes back to the AIU, as Fallon said, and then to PDE. We also have frequently asked questions here that you can peruse at your leisure. And then we have the tool itself. So the tool, again, the instructions are here. It goes through each piece, but this is basically what it looks like, what the monitors will be doing. So they'll be going through each thing. They'll be checking off the number of points based on the scoring rubric that's above in this document, and then they'll write their notes out. They're doing all this in Excel, but this is a Word version so you can see all of the questions in one place if you want to print this out and have it. You can see that as you prepare. So that's the tool. This is the monitoring preparation checklist. So just has all of our deadlines in here. So if you want to prepare and this helps you, feel free to print this out and check it off and use that. That was just something added. This is our monitoring process. So you can see, again, we're just giving you that monitoring schedule in multiple ways, depending on how you like to look at it and what makes sense for you. So you can see all the steps. Here is, this is a monitoring observation checklist. This will not apply to you this year. This is when we do in-person visits. We included it here, and it occurs when we are on site. If we had to come back out after a cap, we will do that, but that will not be occurring this year for you. So the last thing I just want to look at together is the itinerary guide that Fallon talked about. You can see full virtual monitoring visit guidelines are here. That's what this is for. So you're going to submit this at least one full week, that 5 business days before your monitoring visit. It goes back through required participants and talks about who those individuals are. We talk about technology support and so forth. But you will put your name. The primary contact for monitoring will go here with their information. And you want to put some emergency contact in here as well. Some program leaders in case maybe someone gets sick or something happens, they can't come in. Who would be the backup for that monitor so that the visit can still occur? That's what that's for. You can see there's a day 1 logistics in day 2, you can have the start time and link. We have 2 agenda options that you can use. It's totally up to you. The first one you can see has a day 1. It's the subgrantee virtual visit. So it sort of starts and goes through the order that we went through everything in the handbook and the guide. And the second day would be your partner interviews and the program observation. And we give you the suggested times to allot for all of this as well. And agenda 2 is just maybe you want to mix it up. Maybe someone's available for like a caregiver can do an interview, but only on day 1, not day 2. And you want to move them on there. So this is just, you can put which day you want to put something and you can kind of customize it however you'd like. And we give you a suggested duration for that interview. Or if it's a document review component, for that introductory section, we have the amount of time in for that as well. So that's the itinerary guide. We have the certification form is in here. We tried to put everything in here. And these are the professional standards that we give to monitors. So you have that as well. All right. And I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint. And we'll turn it back over to Fallon, and she is going to talk about post-monitoring logistics.
All righty. Thank you, Sheila, for all of that. And I believe Sheila mentioned, I just wanted to remind you that for your monitoring tool, each subgrantee will have a sort of individualized tool with all of their information pre-filled, their grantee name and their FC number and everything like that, that we'll give to your monitors. So you don't need to worry about filling out anything on the tool. They're gonna, we'll fill out that information and the monitors will fill it out. So after the monitoring session, we give the monitors 4 weeks to submit their final report to us. And then we review and process the report, clean it up, in terms of formatting a little bit for PDE. We follow up with any questions about, any details in the report that they shared. And then if there are any non-compliant items, we'll also prepare the corrective action plan for PDE and send it to them to review. So we do all of that within 2 weeks of receiving the finished report. So within 6 weeks of your monitoring, the report should be with PDE. They then review, sign, and submit it along with the corrective action plan, if applicable, to the subgrantee and the assigned TA. We don't include your monitor with this because their involvement in the process is concluded once we get the final report from them. So theoretically, you should receive your report and any corrective action plan from PDE within 8 weeks from the conclusion of your visit. I will say that sometimes it's a little bit longer due to PDE's other obligations. So Carmen Medina actually reads through and signs each and every report, and as we all know, she's very busy. So sometimes, she just can't get to it within that time frame. If you ever are just curious where your report is at in the process, please feel free to email Jesse or me, and we can give you an update. I will say that if your report is taking longer to process than usual, it doesn't mean that you had a bad visit or you have, 20 non-compliant items or anything like that. It usually just means somebody's on vacation or is at a conference or something. So please don't worry if we're taking a little bit more time on our end. But we do try to get these out to you as soon as possible. Usually, Jesse or I will process them within like a day or two of receiving them from the monitor to kind of speed up the process if we're able to. Okay, so this is the big spiel. What happens if your grant is non-compliant? So basically, any non-compliance will receive a corrective action plan that includes specific recommendations for correction from their monitor. So if you are non-compliant on something to do with program attendance, then your monitor will give a specific recommendation for how they would suggest you fix that issue. So all of your monitors have, extensive backgrounds in education and working with grant programs. So they are, they know they know their stuff. So they will try to make some good recommendations for you. So then when you receive your CAP, you will develop steps with your staff and with your program officer to remedy each non-compliant item. So you'll include the action to be taken, who is going to be responsible, and the projected timeline for completion. So then you will send that back to your program officer and TA. They will review it and approve PDE will review it and approve the subgrantee's completed CAP. And then your program officer and your TA will give you additional support as needed. If one of your non-compliant items is related to program evaluation and reporting, then we may, step in and give you some additional assistance around the data pieces. So I just want to remind you, non-compliance does not mean you're going to lose any funding. It's not any sort of punitive measure or anything like that. Like I said in the beginning of the presentation, monitoring is to help your grant improve and remedy any issues in case we do get audited by the feds. So, we like to find issues and correct them in real time so that you can have the best program possible. And, like I said before, monitoring is also about letting us see the really good parts of your grant and sort of highlighting those, positive things that you're doing. Carmen always likes to see some, exemplary best practices sort of, being shared with the grantees or subgrantees, sorry. Okay, next slide. I think we're almost near the end, right? Oh yeah, here we are. Okay, Q&A.
I have a question. For the virtual visit where they're overseeing one of the activities, are they just overseeing the activity, one activity itself, or like a full like the before, like the activity, and the during and the after dismissal, or is it just the activity itself?
Just the activity. Usually the program observation is about maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Thank you. I was wondering if I would be walking around with my laptop like,
No, no,
doing homework, program,
no,
dismissal. Thanks so much.
no. But thank you. That's a great question.
Any other questions?
I have one. We
sure.
have multiple transportation contractors. Would we need to have somebody from each one of them or just one representative from one of them?
It's a good question.
think
Latanya, do you have any
I think
insight on
one
that?
from one of them is fine.
Okay,
Casey,
thank you. I was worried about the logistics of trying to get three separate companies to have
One from
somebody.
one of them is good to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Casey, I think your hand is up.
Yes. Hi. I was wondering, because I was part of C11 and I moved to C12. And so for C11, the monitoring visits didn't happen for a while. So for me, I don't know if they happen for others, but is it happening sooner this time around then or?
So each subgrantee has to be monitored within the first 3 years of the opening of their grant. So if you are
Yeah.
not on this 2026 schedule, which I don't believe your grant is, then you can expect to be monitored anytime within the next, 3-year
Okay.
period. I think, when did Cohort 12 start? Like October of
March.
2024, March of
It
20,
started March for us.
March, that's right, March of 25. So
Yeah.
you can expect to be monitored before.
Okay. It just so happens that our C11 fell like in the third year. So that's why I was just wondering.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, yeah, we don't have the schedule for next year set or anything like that.
Okay. Thank you.
Claire?
Hi, good morning. For the clearances, do we need clearances for like past, like from last year's program as well for all of those, like on hand? Do we need to show them, or is it just for the people who are currently working the program for this school year?
Just for the current year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so monitoring is intended to be a sort of real-time snapshot of your grant. Usually we tell grantees or subgrantees, maybe like the past 6 months of operations. But if somebody is not currently employed by your grant, then I don't think you need to have their clearances ready.
Okay,
Since they no
thank you so
longer work for
much.
you. Heather?
What if we are a school district with the clearances? Do we need to receive them from our HR department?
I'll let Watanya field that one.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to unmute myself. Whatever your protocol is to get a copy of those clearances from your school district, that's what you should follow. But as we said before, you don't have to upload them, but you will be required to share them with the monitor virtually. So you need
Okay.
to have copies of them available to be able to share with the monitor.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
Stacy, I think, and then Travis after Stacy.
Hi, good morning. Just to follow up on that with the district policy. So if our district has a digital platform such as Power School, where they keep staff clearances on file, we're able to see that the clearance is on file with the district, and it has the date that the clearance was run, the expiration date, and the code with it. Does that suffice if we have a copy of that, or does it need to be the actual physical clearance?
I'm looking for the actual physical clearance.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was kind of my question too, Tanya. If we're working with multiple school districts, would it be okay to have the HR department from the school district provide, say a letter of statement saying that each employee has updated clearances through the school district? But it seems like you already answered that.
Ones that you're going to share with the monitor, you need to have the actual physical clearance.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so to add some clarity on the process on the monitoring end, your monitor is going to receive that clearances certification form that we ask you to fill out, and they're going to randomly select 3 people and ask to see their clearances. So, you should have a copy of the clearances for anyone on that list, essentially. Melvina, the handouts will be sent following the session by the center, and then everything will also be uploaded to our AIU website within the next few weeks as our communications department has time to make those updates. And just to our AIU website, we have everything linked. Anything 21st century that we produce is linked on that webpage. And if you ever want the most updated version of a document, you should download it from that page. I'll put the link again in the chat.
We have final questions. Remember, this is a process and the center is there to help you prepare. We're here to help you. If you think of something after the fact, just get in touch. Here's our contact information from the AIU side. And again, we're happy to answer any questions if you think of something later. But just let us know. And thank you all for coming today and for all the great questions. It really helps us with building out our frequently asked questions page too. So
Thank you for your time. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Just a real quick wrap up and announcement about ELO. First, thank you to Atanya and Sheila and Fallon and Jesse for presenting the products, for creating the products, for making them available to you. And we know that your grantee, your students will benefit from your being better prepared, and this is great. I put the evaluation link in. You're welcome to give some feedback if you'd like to. One quick reminder that the ELO this year, the Extra Learning Opportunities Conference, is in the Harrisburg Hilton. It'll be February 24th to the 26th. Registration will go out soon. If it didn't already go out, some of you seem to have it already. And then each grant is required to have 2 participants in attendance per grant, and you have to talk to your program officer with any exceptions to that rule. Special thanks to you too today for all that you do to make it work for students in the Commonwealth. And we ask that you would just continue to be patient as you go through the new process, learn, ask questions as you've been encouraged to do. And I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.